Champions Cup quarter-final time. You know we're getting towards the business end of the season when there are only 8 teams left standing. Going to preview the 4 matches and also talk about what is arguably, unfortunately, the biggest talking point heading into the quarter-finals about the South African team's participation and whether it is viable after the Bulls have made a load of changes for understandable reasons, but nonetheless it highlights some of the issues. So lots of different things to get onto. I will get onto that. Overall though, I want to keep the positivity up here because we have 4 intriguing matches, although those of you that have watched some of my videos earlier this week will have seen me say, have we possibly got some quite one-sided games as well? I don't know, we can get into it. You can have your say in the comments section. Who do you think is going to win this weekend? Or any of the issues, any of the things that I touch upon in the video, then that is where you can have your say. Also, like the video and make sure you're subscribed to the channel. But welcome back, my name's Alfie. Let's start off with the first game on Saturday. First match to kick us off is Bordeaux against Harlequins. On paper, this is just the most jouet, running rugby, play from anywhere game that we could possibly have. It has the potential to be absolutely blockbuster and just to be a little bit mental, and I hope that is the game that we have. I mentioned whether we could see some one-sided games. I do think Bordeaux Quins, Saints Bulls, Toulouse Exeter have the potential to be quite one-sided wins for Bordeaux, for Northampton and for Toulouse. And in this game with Bordeaux, so it's without question that they have been one of the most impressive teams in this competition. I think outside of, say, the winner of Leinster La Rochelle and presuming Toulouse win, I think most people would have them as the next team that could potentially win it this year. Like, they've been absolutely brilliant. I loved covering some of their games in the pool stages in the competition. The backline they have married up with that forward pack and the heft and experience and international quality, it feels like they're a really nice balanced team. But I was trying to think about it, and I guess it's a very simple question. How do Harlequins stop them? And I reached the conclusion that it's about slowing down the ball, because so much of what we've seen from Bordeaux in this Champions Cup this year has been about them having lightning quick ball, the backline spreading it, cutting teams open, offloading, all that kind of jouet stuff comes from the speed of ball, the go forward, that the platform that the forwards that they have are able to give them. And I do think it is a possibility for Quins to slow that down. If you look at them in the Champions Cup this season, they've won the most turnovers in the competition. In fact, it's been an area of Quins' game that has been key for them throughout the year, because in the Premiership, Will Evans is top of the charts for the amount of steals. Alex Dombrandt is second for getting their hands on the ball at the breakdown. I think that is the area that is going to be absolutely vital for a Harlequins team that's missing Marler, missing Kerr, few big names missing there. They absolutely have their work cut out. They will be comfortably the underdogs. Are they able to spring a surprise? On to Leinster La Rochelle. That's the second game of the weekend. So for me, and I think for all of us, this is the best game of the weekend. This is the quarter-final that I think most people would find it harder to be able to call. But it's funny because there's so much of what I've seen from La Rochelle this year in the Champions Cup hasn't been that impressive. And even in the top 14, they have had some great results, but they've lost quite a few games as well. The whole season, from what I've seen from them so far, yes, they've got brilliant players in that team. There are times where they're magnificent, but have they been as relentless, as consistent as we've seen them in previous years? But despite all of that, despite my concerns and a possible negativity towards them, they're still here. And that's probably the most I can say for this La Rochelle at this stage. They are still here. They were not great in the pool stages, but they didn't have to be amazing to get themselves through. They came from 16-0 down away in South Africa against the Stormers to get themselves to a quarter-final last week in that last 16 tie. If we want to go back even further, what was it, 18-0 down, 17-0 down they were against Leinster in the final last year in Dublin, and were still able to find a way. There is something about this La Rochelle team and Ronan O'Gara that they will find a way. They will get themselves in a position, even if they don't play great, to be able to win this game. And are they able to hang in it? Because I think Leinster in Dublin, you know at some point you are going to get put under pressure with the quality that they have in their team. And there's a few different areas I was thinking of. One of the big things for the last two finals that La Rochelle have just been very narrow but beaten Leinster in was a lot of the work that they did at the breakdown. And so I'm really intrigued to see how La Rochelle's traditionally brilliant breakdown work, Skelton, Bottia, all those sorts of guys, Dante, how that marries up against Leinster's improved breakdown work. Because I think an area that Jacques Nienaber has really tried to improve is that breakdown area for Leinster from a defensive point of view, slowing other teams' ball down. Caelan Doris and Van der Fleer and various other players, getting them in there doing the dirty work. I was reading the Irish Independent and Rory O'Connor's column today, essentially about exactly that, how that has been such a focus for Leinster. So both of those teams and the breakdown, I think, could be absolutely fascinating. The other thing just to throw in there is set piece. Leinster this season, the set piece, in particular the line out, hasn't looked incredible. James Ryan, obviously a massive loss for them. But then likewise, La Rochelle, if you look at their front row, are missing some pretty key players in Bougary and Wardy and various others. So the set piece for both of those teams, La Rochelle's was very, very good last week against the Stormers. They still have a heck of a lot of weight in there to be good. But yeah, set piece breakdown, those individual battles for these teams, I think is going to be quite intriguing. On to the final game then of the Saturday is Northampton against the Bulls. And unfortunately, we can't talk about this game without talking about what is probably the biggest talking point coming into this weekend. Is that unfair? I don't think it is. So it's about the Bulls. They've made 13 changes from the team that beat a depleted Lyon side last week in the last 16. And I don't think this is purely about the Bulls. This is the kind of game, we had it last year. Do you remember the Stormers had to, in a short turnaround, go and play Exeter? They had to take various different flights. The Bulls have had the same thing where they've had some players arriving one way, other players having to fly to Doha or various different places, get connecting flights, landing on different days. It is awful preparation for what is supposed to be the really highest quality part of this competition. So it's not just the Bulls' fault, it is an issue for the competition, and it is an issue for the competition with the South African teams in it. Now, earlier this week, I did a video about do South African fans care about the Champions Cup, and I kind of said, we've got to stick with it, and I think a big part of it is finding a way in the schedule for this to work. And the reason I say that is because it's not going to change. As much as many of you might go in the comment section and say the South African teams shouldn't be a part of it, it just doesn't work with the long haul flights, with teams having to have various different stopovers. It does not work at all. And I get that. I completely get where you're coming from and agree with you to a large extent. But it's not going to change, I don't think. So they have to find a way, scheduling-wise, to make this better. The thing that seems most obvious to me is not having a last 16. So just going straight to the quarterfinals and teams knowing where that quarterfinal is going to be further in advance. So hopefully they're able to plan for it. There's no silver bullet here, but look, it's a major issue. And what it does mean for this game is Northampton are heavy favourites. Northampton, I think, would have been favourites anyway. But you just can't see the Bulls, even though they've got some really good young players in that starting team, guys that have been in or are currently in Springbok alignment camps or have been capped by Springbok A or Springbok youth teams. It's going to be a tall order for them in a week where they virtually can't do any training, where they're having to do a huge amount of travelling to be able to beat Northampton at this moment in time, a Northampton team that are on form. They could do. It would be an unbelievable victory if they were able to, but unfortunately, I think it's very, very unlikely. And from a Northampton point of view, Alex Mitchell is back starting at scrum half. Furbank's back on the bench. Tommy Freeman starts in the centres. They have a lot of key players. Augustus, another one, coming back into that team, which is brilliant for the latter stages of this competition and brilliant for them when we look ahead to the Premiership run-in and East Midlands derby in a week's time as well. You feel like the Saints at this moment in time are in a pretty good place. So I expect them to go through. Final game on the Sunday, Toulouse against Exeter. I mean, it's going to be a challenge for the Bulls to be able to win. It's going to be a challenge, I think, for Exeter to be able to win. They've done brilliantly to get to the quarterfinal. To me, it feels like it's probably going to be the end of the road for them here, coming up against Toulouse, away from home. But it is a free hit, I suppose. That's what you'd say from a Chiefs point of view. They're a young team that maybe don't have some of the battle scars of more seasoned veterans, but that youthful ignorance, in a way, can be a really good thing. And they can just go in and attack it. And one thing actually Rob Baxter did say last week, following their victory against Bath, which was a very well hard-fought win, was they will get 15 minutes in this game. They will get 15 minutes where maybe Toulouse drop off or there's a window of opportunity, they manage to get field position. The question is, can they take advantage of it? So will they get that 15-minute period, first of all, and will they be able to take advantage of it? In all honesty, my expectations is even if they did get that and they could take advantage of it, I expect that Toulouse will be too strong throughout the remaining 65 minutes that they'll still be able to win. But we'll wait and see. Exeter have also won away to Toulon against the odds already in the Champions Cup this season. I just think this Toulouse side are a different beast to that Toulon team, but I will be delighted if I'm proved wrong there. As for Toulouse, they look strong. I think having Ntamak back at 10, so Dupont's playing scrum half, he was playing fly half for a little bit, is key for them. They looked great. The forward pack is incredibly strong and experienced, so I think Toulouse are probably going to win here. And this is just a reminder of the tree, do we call it that? Basically the route to the final for the various teams. So if Toulouse do win, they're likely then going to have a home semi-final, play the winner of Bordeaux and Quins, and then Leinster La Rochelle will play the winner of Saints and the Bulls. And it's the highest ranked clubs from the pool stage that will have the home venue. I think they're kind of neutral venues. So for example, I'm trying to think, like let's say for example that Quins got through. I don't think it would necessarily be at the Stoop. But anyway, we'll wait and see. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. They have to play it at a venue in their home country, probably fairly close by, but not their home stadium, I believe, anyway. So comment down below. Let me know what you make of it. What do you make of the issue in terms of the Bulls and the changes and the South African teams having, quite frankly, ridiculous levels of travels that they have to go through? I feel really sorry for the teams in that regard. And who's going to win? Who do you see coming through the matches this weekend? Let me know down below. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you in the next one.